Here's some help to get you started working on the 9.4 assignment. There was only 10 problems, but they're pretty complicated, and so hopefully you did okay. And hopefully you always try these on your own first, just so that you have a better understanding and not just copying down answers. So number 1, you're solving the equation, which means finding all 6 pieces of information, all 3 sides and 3 angles. Well, this one, there's 2 sides given and 1 angle, and I always just make a note to myself. It's side angle side, because the side angle side is given, so I have to use the law of cosines for this one. And I'm going to start with side A, because A squared is equal to 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 times the cosine of 35. All of that right there, you just put in your calculator and you should get 26.8. Take the square root of that and it is 5.2. Now that we know one ratio of angle to side, I can use that information to find another angle. And you could use law of cosines again, but I just like the law of sines better. So if I can use that, I will. So I have sine of 35 over 5.2, that's the ratio of the a's, and over sine of b over 7, or equals sine of b over 7. So I'm solving for b right here. So I multiply 7 times the sine of 35, divide it by 5.2, and you should get a decimal, but when you take the inverse sign of that number, you get 50.5. Now that you know 2 angles, the third one is easy to find by taking 180 minus 35 minus 50.5, and you get 94.5. Number 2 was a tricky one because there are actually 2 possible answers if you approach it a certain way. So whenever you have like this obtuse angle, so you can tell that that angle B is bigger than 90 degrees, so it's obtuse, then there might be some issues, because if I swing this side AB around, then, pretend like I drew this really good and I have this angle over here. Well, I could have another angle that uses side 13 and side 18, but AC is a lot shorter, and angle B is going to be very small. So what you could do, there's a couple things to do. If you didn't notice, first thing to do is to notice that angle B is an obtuse angle, and you don't want to solve for that right away. You want to wait and find A and C first, and then find angle B. But if you, forget, or if you don't remember that, then you could go ahead and solve for B, but you end up with a really weird number, like 50. And 50 is definitely not bigger than 90. So we would then use the law of sines to find angle C. So angle C we use the ratios of the A's, so angle A over side A, so sine of 30.2 that we found earlier, divided by 18 is equal to sine of C over 13, because C is opposite side 13. And then when you do that, you end up with C equaling 21.3. Which that makes sense, because A, it looks like it's just a little bit bigger than C. So this is a part that you really need to check your answers to make sure they make sense. Then you take 180 minus 30.2 minus 21.3 and find out that angle B is 128.5. And that is definitely an obtuse angle, so that is correct. Now, I noticed that in the book they have 30.3 and 128.4. I'm not sure if you put 30.2 if it'll mark you wrong or not. If so, just put 30.3, because that's what they got. I checked it a couple times and I always get 30.2. So I'm not sure how they're rounding. All right. All right, number 3, I start out by drawing a picture because I get easily confused, and so a picture just really helps me. So I would suggest doing that. So we have A, and it doesn't matter what size or shape your triangle is, because you don't really care that it's not proportionate or it's not the right sizes. So I just go ABC, angle A is 46, side B is opposite angle B, so that's 14. Side C is opposite side angle C, so that is 16. So then we would set it up like this to find A. 16 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 16 times 14, cosine of 46. You just put all of that in your calculator, and you get 140.8. Take the square root of that, you get 11.9. Then I use the law of sine functions, because now I have the ratio of the a's. So sine of 46 over 11.9 equals sine of b over 14. You solve that, you get b 57.8. Now I know that the book has the answer of 58.1, so I'm not sure what their margin of error is. If you are getting an error, go ahead and put 58.1 in. It's close enough. Then you subtract those values from 180 and get 75.9. Number 4, again, you probably should draw the triangle, but you would then realize that it is a SSS, or a side-side-side problem. So, if you don't draw the triangle, it's not going to be a biggie, because it doesn't really matter which one you do. So it might help to draw the picture. So then I just started with A. So I said 5 squared is equal to 11 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 11 times 15. Notice the 11 and the 15 is what you use in the formula over here. Times the cosine of A. You multiply those together, that's minus 346. 5 squared minus 346 is negative 321. This multiplied together is negative 330. Divide both sides by negative 330, and you get a decimal, but then when you take the inverse cosine of that answer, you should get 13.4. Then you go ahead and use the sine functions to find b. Sine of 13.4 over 5 is equal to sine of b over 11. 11 times sine of 13.4 divided by 5. Inverse sine of that decimal answer would give you 30.7. And c is 180 minus a minus b. You get 135.9. Number 5, here's some real life examples. I love this unit just because we are using so much of our skills that we've been developing throughout your whole math education. So, you might not really care how far apart you are, but, there might be some time when you have to find a distance of a triangle side. So, first thing I notice is this is a side angle side problem. We're looking for side A, so we go 7 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 7 times 6 times the cosine 110. You get 113.7 is what A squared is equal to. One really common mistake is students forget to then take the square root of that answer, and you get 10.7. The next one is also a side angle side problem. We're looking for W. W is 25 squared plus 84 squared minus 2 times 25 times 84 times the cosine of 102. So W squared is 8,554.2. The square root of that would be 92.5. Now on these problems, I would expect to see at least this much work written down. If you're not writing it down, if you're trying to do it just in your calculator or just in your head, you are going to be asking for mistakes. So go ahead and write those problems down. Number 7, we're looking for the area. So the area formula is at the bottom of the notes of law of 9.5. First thing we do is start out with the semi-area, so half of the area. This is really helpful because that formula uses it. So you just add all 3 sides together, cut it in half, and you get 22. Then the area is the square root of s. S minus 14 is 18, s minus 17 is 5, and s minus 13 is 9. Multiply all that together, take the square root. I always do that first because I don't trust my calculator, and that's a lot of parentheses to have to put in to tell your calculator to multiply first and then take the square root. So try it with your calculator. You should be getting 89.0. Number 8, same thing there. Add them all together, you get 39. 39 minus 32 is 7. 39 minus 20 is 19. 39 minus 26 is 13. Multiply them together, then take the square root of the answer, and you get 259.7. Number 9, so I just drew out the triangle. We got 11, 21, 19. So it should have been set up like this. 19 squared minus 21 squared, or equals 21 squared plus 11 squared, minus 2 times 21 times 11 times the cosine of a. So notice that's where the error was. 2 times 21 times 11, not 2 times 19 times 21. They multiplied the a, not the b, and the answer that you should get is 64.2. Last one. So you will have to use, this is the side, angle side, you'll have to use the law of cosines because two sides in an included angle are used, and that is assignment 9.4. Woohoo!